Hey, can you kill the engine for a second?
Say again? Okay. You need to get to a bathroom? Well, why don't you just take a seat then? Right there.
And then, but you didn't observe his body or his person in the videos down or collected down by Credit Island, right?
I did not down by Credit Island. It'd be a vehicle.
Okay, and then the vehicle you're talking about, you couldn't identify a license plate, correct?
No,
Couldn't identify the person driving that vehicle, correct?
I could not.
Okay. As part of your job, you work closely with the DCI, the FBI, and other local law enforcement agencies, correct?
Yes.
And part of your job, and I think you've already testified to it, but just so I'm clear here, part of your job is receiving evidence gathered from executed search warrants, perhaps being involved with executing search warrants. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with a DCI agent named Richard Ron?
Yes.
Okay, and who is that?
He's a supervising agent for the Iowa DCI Division of Criminal Investigation.
In what area of the state does he work in?
This area, I'd work out of their Stockton branch.
Okay, so would that
Encompasses the Quad Cities, or sorry, Davenport, Bettendorf, like this side of the Quad Cities.
in Clinton County as well?
Yes.
Okay. And then as part of your canvassing efforts in July of 2020, I think you worked with Richard Ron, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and on July 29th of 2020, Richard Ron actually executed a search warrant on a vehicle that would have been a black Dodge Challenger. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I know what you're referring to.
Okay, and on July 29th of 2020, you actually received evidence that was produced from that Dodge Black Challenger,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
That evidence would have been two white T-shirts that had stains on them that resembled blood stains, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware whether those two T-shirts were ever tested for DNA?
Yes, I am aware.
Okay. Are you aware whether those two T-shirts were compared to the known DNA of Breasia Terrell?
And there were requests that I completed when I was asked to do it. Yes, I was asked to compare to that.
Okay. And were those tests ever completed?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Did you ever scratch that? Were those two T-shirts ever tested for DNA that was compared to Henry Dinkins' DNA?
Yes, that was requested.
Okay. But was it him?
No.
Are you aware of the results of that?
I am. I don't have them with me. I'm aware of them.
Okay. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes, thank you. Detective Poyer, to put things in perspective, around the time frame of July 29th of 2020, did Clinton County have its own murder investigation that was going on?
So most of the conversation that took place regarding these evidence items was between Rick Ron and Sergeant Pfeiffer.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to put these items into evidence and later asked to complete these requests. There was an investigation going in the Clinton area with DCI that is what these were produced from.
Sure. Now, what was the reason that Detective Ron even brought these two white T-shirts to the table in this investigation, if you know?
Because there was stains on it that he thought were possibly consistent with blood, and they were consistent with like clothes clothing that had been discussed in our investigation.
Okay. What type of top was Breasia described as wearing when she went to bed at the Culberson Dinkins apartment on July 9th, going into the early morning hours of July 10th?
A white t-shirt,
Okay. And was that an adult size t-shirt or a child size t-shirt?
adult size.
Okay. Whose t-shirt was that?
I'm not certain on that.
Okay. Was it an extremely large adult size t-shirt, if you have recollection about that?
Yes, it was large, and I believe it was a t-shirt of Henry Dinkins.
Okay. And then the shirts in question that Special Agent Ron had seized, were these adult size t-shirts or a child's t-shirt?
Let me double check.
Sure, absolutely.
So I have that one was a Hanes crew style white medium t-shirt. The other one was a white children's white tank top, medium.
Did both of those go to the DCI lab for testing?
Yes,
In the course of this investigation, was Henry Dinkins' DNA collected?
yes, it was.
Okay, and was a request made by the DCI to compare his DNA to any potential DNA that was developed from those t-shirts?
Yes, it was.
And then by virtue of that process, was it determined that blood was not, it did not have his DNA?
Yes,
Okay. Just to take this a step further, was this just an example of law enforcement covering every base to make sure that there was no stone unturned?
well, it was conveyed to me with Clinton being in common and the clothing. Rick Ron thought it was too important to just ignore.
Okay, and so then it was followed up on, correct?
Yes,
At the end of the day, was it determined that that had no relevance to this investigation?
no relevance.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Mr. Waters.
And just to be clear, the investigation we're talking about in Clinton County, involving the search warrant on that black Dodge Challenger, was an investigation involving the abduction of a small child, correct?
Was it an abduction of a small child?
The investigation involved the abduction of a small child, right?
I don't know that for sure. I thought it was a homicide investigation, but I don't know that.
Okay, that's all I have.
And Detective Poyer, if I could, was it your understanding that it was a homicide investigation?
That was what I remember being conveyed to me.
Sure. And then in the context of that, the suspects or suspect in that particular investigation, did that individual have some type of relationship to the child involved?
Not that we were able to determine.
Okay. Did you know anything about that?
There are other detectives probably performed further follow-up than I would have on that, so.
Sure.
I don't know that,
But it was a homicide investigation, correct?
from what I was informed.
I have no further questions.
But there was a child that was killed in the area that Breasia Terrell was found at that time.
I don't have knowledge of that. I don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Anything on that, Ms. Cunningham?
Yes. Was this a Clinton County investigation?
Yes,
Okay.
DCI was working on an investigation in Clinton County.
Were you given any information that it was, had any association to the location where we recovered Breasia's remains?
I don't know any details about that case
Sure.
other than these evidence items.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
You may step down. Ms. Adamo.
Thank you. The state would call Christine Baker.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please have a seat.
Can you please state and spell your name?
Christine Baker, Christine Baker.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm a real estate agent and I'm a transaction coordinator with a law firm.
Now, back in July of 2020, how were you employed at that time?
I was a civilian crime scene technician for the Davenport Police Department.
And back in July of 2020, did you have a different last name?
Yes, I did.
What was your last name at that time?
Stobaugh, spelled Stobaugh.
What were your duties as a civilian crime scene tech with the Davenport Police Department?
I responded to various crime scenes and I was the one that would take the photos and collect evidence, and then we also processed evidence back in the lab.
Can you describe your educational background and any training that you would have received for that position?
Yes, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville with a bachelor's degree in forensic investigation and a minor in criminal justice. And then I moved to California for my first job, where I was a forensic services technician with the Westminster Police Department. And then I moved to Houston about a year later. I was with the Houston Forensic Science Center for 3.5 years, where I primarily worked major crime scenes. And then I moved back home to Iowa to work with the Davenport Police Department and do the crime scene technician work.
How long in total were you employed with the Davenport Police Department?
3 years.
And did you work as a civilian crime scene tech that entire time?
Yes.
Ms. Baker, when you were dispatched to a potential crime scene, did you follow a general process to document or collect evidence?
Yes.
Can you explain what that process would be?
So I will show up to a scene and I'll be briefed generally on why I'm there. And then I usually do an initial walkthrough, and then I will start taking photographs and placing evidence markers, searching the scene, and collecting evidence.
When you say you do a kind of general walkthrough, what's the point of that?
So I can get a feel of what we're looking at initially. So the initial scene when I arrive. So nothing has been, from me first being there, my first photos that I take will be what I see when I get there.
And when you start taking those overall photographs, do you follow, again, a general process for that?
Yes.
And what's that process?
I mostly just try to walk someone through whatever scene I'm at. So if it's outside, inside, I try to walk them through with my photos what the area looks like.
And generally speaking then, do you start sort of broadly with your photographs, and then if there are items of interest that you want to document further, you then would take closer photographs of those items up until that point where then that item would be collected?
Yes.
Now, back on July 10th of 2020, were you dispatched to 2744 53rd Street, apartment number 8 in Davenport, Iowa?
Yes.
Why were you dispatched to that apartment?
I was told that a girl was missing.
Once you arrived at that location, were you again generally briefed on the situation?
Yes.
And was that information provided to you that you then utilized in your process of documenting that scene?
Yes.
What information was shared to you when you first arrived?
So when we get information initially, we want it to be very broad. So I knew there was a girl that was about 10 years old that had last been seen in the early morning hours. And that's pretty much what I had to operate on.
And did you know why apartment number 8, why that was the apartment you were being requested to take photographs of?
That's where she was last seen.
Now, when you first arrived at that apartment, what was your understanding of kind of law enforcement involvement at that point?
I know detectives were questioning people, trying to figure out, was there anywhere she would have gone? We were just operating as if we were looking for a 10-year-old girl.
Had any searches been done by law enforcement of that apartment prior to your arrival?
I don't know.
While you were on scene, did officers then begin to search more thoroughly that apartment?
Yes.
But prior to any of that searching, would you have gone through it and documented things as you first saw them?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
So I'm handing what's been marked as State's Exhibits 5-1 through 597. Do you recognize these exhibits?
Yes.
And what are State's Exhibits 5-1 through 97?
Various photos I took at the crime scene.
And were these photos taken on July 10th, 2020?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict both overall photos and then items that you found in specific locations at that apartment?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer Exhibit 5-1 through 97 into evidence.
No objection.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
And may the state publish some of these, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you first what's been labeled as 5-1, kind of walk us through what we're looking here in this photograph.
That is the front door to the apartment.
And then in 5-2, see that the door has been open. What do we look at here?
That's the entryway and the stairway leading up to the main area of the apartment.
So this is 5-3. As you walk up the stairs and sort of turn, would this be the view then at that point in time?
Yes, at the top of the landing at the stairs.
So what's being depicted then in State's Exhibit 5-3?
The living room and part of the kitchen.
And do you recall the living room there? There's a window. Does that window face east towards Costco?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 5-4. What's being shown here?
An overall of the kitchen.
Then State's Exhibit 5-5. What's being shown here?
The kitchen is now to my right and I'm facing into the living room.
And does there appear to be an air mattress on the floor of that living room?
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit 5-8. Where was this photograph taken?
I'm standing on the other side of the living room facing back toward the stairs where I was standing in the previous photo.
This is State's Exhibit 5-9. Again, what is being shown here?
I'm standing in the same spot. I'm facing towards the kitchen.
And there's a door that appears to be open in that, in the back of this photograph. What room is that?
That's the bedroom.
This is State's Exhibit 512. What's being depicted here?
The living room going into the kitchen.
Now, I want to draw your attention specifically to what appears to be a stack of plastic water bottles right by the door to the bedroom. Do you observe that?
Yes,
Again, was that how you found that particular area when you're taking photographs?
yes,
There's no bottle of bleach or Clorox that was present on top of the bottles at that time.
no,
Now, this is Exhibit 515. Where are we now in the apartment?
I'm standing in the doorway of the bedroom.
And what all can you observe from this angle of the photograph?
You see the bed, a closet door, and then some electronics on the right-hand side.
Now, do you recall if this bedroom had more than one closet?
Yes, it did.
Do you know which closet's being depicted in this photograph?
The north closet.
This is State's Exhibit 516. What's being shown here?
I have kind of turned in the bedroom, so now I'm facing kind of southwest, so that's the south closet door.
And to the left portion of this photograph, there appears to be another door that's open. Do you recall what that room would be?
That led into the bathroom.
This is State's Exhibit 517. What is this here?
I'm standing next to the north closet, facing back, kind of out towards the other side of the bedroom.
And does there appear to be a computer monitor or workstation set up there in the corner of that bedroom?
Yes,
State's Exhibit 518. This is just another angle showing the entrance to the bathroom.
yes.
Does it appear, or from your own memory, was the only way to enter the bathroom to walk through this bedroom?
Yes.
Now, at some point, did you begin documenting the closets in that bedroom as well?
Yes.
Showing you State's Exhibit 523. Do you recall which closet this photograph would have been taken of?
That's the north closet.
And State's Exhibit 524, more of the north closet.
Correct.
And State's Exhibit 525, again, just more of the north closet.
Yes.
Were you provided any information about whose closet or who primarily used this closet in that bedroom?
No one told me no.
Did it appear to have mostly clothing a male would wear?
Yes.
And this is State's 527. Would this be the south closet then?
Yes.
And 528, is this when you just would start documenting the south closet?
Yes.
And 529, more photos of the south closet.
Correct.
Showing you then State's Exhibit 532. What's being shown in this photograph here?
That is some clothing that was laid out on the bed.
And was that clothing already on the bed when you first walked into the bedroom?
I believe it was bundled up on the corner of the bed.
Now, did you document this clothing further, including the sizes and that type of thing?
I believe so, yes.
And did they all appear to be adult-sized clothing?
Yes.
Showing you then states 534. One thing I would like to just point out is obviously some of the earlier pictures of the bed appeared to be made. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now in States Exhibit 534, the bed does not appear to be made anymore. What was happening as you're taking these photographs?
Detectives had started searching the scene.
So then in States Exhibit 534, what were you capturing in this photo?
I was taking kind of a mid-range or intermediate photo of, you can see the gloves on the floor and then a pistol under the bed.
And States Exhibit 535, the close-up of those latex gloves.
Yes.
And then States Exhibit 536, what's being shown here?
A close-up of how the pistol was situated under the bed or under the mattress.
You better do that. Now, do you recall if there were other items located underneath the mattress in this residence?
Yes, there was.
Showing you States Exhibit 537. What are we being shown here?
We've lifted up the mattress and those items were sitting like that underneath the mattress.
And what are these items?
There's the pistol that I was taking photos of before, and then a small, looks like a kitchen knife, and then a larger machete type knife.
This is States Exhibit 539. Is this that same machete we just saw in the last photo, just taken out of its sheath?
Yes.
This is States Exhibit 542. Where was this photo taken?
This, I believe, was right outside the bedroom
And
or in a closet.
in the south closet?
Closet, yeah.
Can you sort of see the bed still on the left-hand side of the photo?
Yes.
What were you capturing here?
The items on the floor and then another machete type knife in a sheath.
Showing you States Exhibit 550. What appears to be in this photograph?
It's a close-up of the pistol that was under the mattress.
And then in 552, what are we being shown here?
I have removed the magazine from the pistol, and then the cartridge at the top of the photo was the one in the chamber of the firearm.
And then 553, again, is that a close-up of that same chamber that was removed from the firearm?
Yes,
And then what is also being depicted in this photograph?
the magazine that was in the pistol with a cartridge loaded into it.
And do you recall how many cartridges were in that magazine?
Just the one.
Showing you then States Exhibit 555. What's being depicted here?
A close-up of the head stamp on the cartridge from the chamber.
And are you able to just read any of the markers on that particular cartridge?
It's an RP 9mm Luger.
And is that just a type of ammunition?
Yes.
This is States Exhibit 560. What are we looking at here?
It's an Iowa identification card for Henry Dinkins.
And that was located as well during the search?
Yes.
Now, going back to a search of that south closet, this is State's Exhibit 562. It's upside down. What were you photographing here?
An intermediate or mid-range photo of a box of ammo in that bag.
This is State's Exhibit 563. Is this a close-up of that same ammunition, box of ammunition?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 564. Again, what was being photographed here?
That's the side of the box showing what caliber the ammunition was.
And it appears to be 9mm Luger.
Yes.
And then in State's Exhibit 565, what's being shown here?
That's all the ammo that was in the box.
One of the bullets appears to be flipped. Do you know who did that?
Yes, I did that to show the top of that ammunition.
And so with the finding of this particular box of ammunition, you note that there are 2 bullets that appear to be missing from this box.
Yes.
Yet there were 2 bullets found, one inside the chamber of that gun and one in the magazine, correct?
Correct.
And did those bullets appear consistent with the bullets in this box?
Yes.
Showing you State's Exhibit 567. What are we being shown here?
A pair of pink sunglasses that was sitting on top of that half wall in between the kitchen and living room.
And what was the purpose of photographing these sunglasses?
They appeared to belong to a girl.
Were they smaller in size?
Yes.
And then back to that south closet in the bedroom, State's Exhibit 568. What's being photographed here?
An intermediate photo of what I believe was an airsoft gun in the shoebox.
Again, this is 569. What's being shown here?
A closer photo of that same airsoft gun.
This is State's Exhibit 571. What's in this photograph?
A box of SCCY ammunition.
And in the prior photograph of the airsoft gun, State's 569, was that airsoft gun on top of this box?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 573, what's in this exhibit?
That's the interior of that box. I misspoke. It wasn't an ammunition box. It was a gun box.
And what appears to be inside that box?
A plastic bag containing a couple base plates, an empty magazine, and a couple keys.
This is State's Exhibit 574. What are we being shown here?
An intermediate photo of that desk area in the bedroom with some electronics on it.
And does there appear to be a cell phone plugged in this photograph?
Yes.
And then State's Exhibit 577, what's being shown here?
It's in the living room. We just opened that closet to see, you can see the water heater or whatever's in there.
And Was there anything of any value found in that utility closet?
I don't believe so.
This states Exhibit 583. This is obviously a window. Do you recall which window this would have been in the apartment?
I believe it's the window above the bed in the bedroom.
And though it may be a little hard to see, but through the blinds, what would you be looking at then?
The parking lot of the apartment complex.
In States Exhibit 584, what's being shown there?
I'm photographing the lock on the window.
And does the window appear to be locked?
I don't recall if up or down was the locked position.
But that was the purpose of documenting that.
Correct.
This is States Exhibit 587. What are we being shown here?
The exterior of the apartment on the same side as Costco, so that east side of the apartment.
And then 588, what's being shown here?
Again, the east side of the apartment exterior.
And again, that apartment is a second-story apartment.
Correct.
So this photograph would capture the distance from that window to the ground.
Yes.
States Exhibit 589, what's being shown here?
The window in the living room.
And this is States 591, what's being shown here?
Again, showing where the lock was on the window.
This is States Exhibit 594. What's in this photograph?
It's kind of mid-range close-up of a white t-shirt.
And was this t-shirt located in the bedroom?
Yes.
This is States Exhibit 595. Is that a close-up of the tag of that t-shirt?
Yes.
And what size does that t-shirt appear to be?
5XL.
And then States Exhibit 596. What's being depicted here?
A pair of gloves that were also found in the bedroom.
Now, in addition to photographing several items and overall photos taken throughout that apartment, were there several items that were collected as well?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you first what's been marked as States Exhibit 69. What is States Exhibit 69?
The black and blue machete.
And was that an item that was located in that apartment on July 10th, 2020 that you would have documented in the photos we just went through?
I don't think this is the right one. This was collected by
That's on a different date.
a different date. Okay,
That's when it was returned from the FBI.
gotcha. Okay, yes.
So based on the description then on the label, the black and blue machete,
Yes,
was that the item you would have collected then on July 10th, 2020?
yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer Exhibit 69 into evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit 69 will be admitted.
Also then going to show you states exhibits 70, 71, and 72. Do you recognize these items?
Yes.
Okay, starting with exhibit 70. What is that item?
The small,
And exhibit 71, what is that item?
the pink camouflage pistol that was underneath the mattress.
And 72.
The pistol box that was in the closet.
Collected by you on July 10th from the same apartment, and kept in the care and custody control of the Davenport Police Department.
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, we would offer exhibits 70, 71, and 72 into evidence.
No objection.
Those exhibits will be admitted into evidence.
Now, Ms. Baker, while you were at this apartment on July 10th, at some point were you asked to photograph a black Camaro?
Yes.
Do you recall who asked you to photograph that Camaro?
I don't.
Would it have been a detective or somebody on scene?
Yes.
And do you know why you were asked to photograph the black Camaro?
I was advised that it belonged to someone that lived in the apartment.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 13-1 through 13-11. Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes.
And what is being depicted in 13-1 through 11?
Photos of the black Camaro.
And were these photographs that you would have taken on July 10th? And are they fair and accurate of what you observed at that time?
Yes.
The state would offer exhibits 13-1 through 13-11 into evidence.
No objection.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
You may publish, Your Honor.
You may.
So showing you State's Exhibit 13-1. Again, what are we being shown here?
An overall of the front of the black Camaro.
Now, when you were taking photographs of the Camaro, what was the purpose of that at that point in time?
At that point, just to make sure Breasia wasn't in the vehicle.
So this is State's Exhibit 13-3. Again, what's being shown here?
The exterior passenger side of the vehicle.
At some point then, was the vehicle opened and photographs taken of the inside?
Yes.
Was Breasia located inside the vehicle?
No.
Was there any additional testing or anything noted by you of significant value at that point in time?
Not at that time, no.
Was the purpose of anything you were doing at that point to try to identify any potential evidence or anything like that?
No.
To your knowledge, was that vehicle later seized and search warrants would have been executed at that point?
Yes.
Now, also on July 10th, at some point were you directed to 2 bags of clothing that would have been provided to the Davenport Police Department?
Yes.
And what was your understanding of what these bags of clothing were?
I understood they were just the kids' clothes, dirty and clean, separated out.
Do you recall where you would have taken those photographs?
I believe I took them in the parking lot.
So at some point, the bags had been either brought to that parking lot?
Yes.
May I approach your honor?
You may.
Ms. Baker, I'm handing you State's Exhibits 14-1 through 36. Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes.
And what are these exhibits?
Photos of the clothing that were in those bags.
And these photographs fairly and accurately depict the clothing in the bags that you would have photographed on July 10th, 2020?
Yes.
This time, Your Honor, the state offers 14-1 through 36 into evidence.
No objection.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
And may republish, Your Honor.
You may.
So showing you then first, 14-1. What are we looking at here?
And the interior of a Disney bag with clothes inside.
Now, while you were handling these bags, were you wearing gloves?
Yes.
And after taking photographs of the bags, did you then take out each individual item and take photographs of those specific items as well?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that some of the bags appeared to have clean clothes in them and some appeared to have dirty clothes in them. Is that fair?
Yes.
So I'm showing you State's Exhibit 1424. Is that the second bag of clothing?
Yes.
And do you recall which bag appeared to have clean clothes versus the dirty clothes?
I don't.
Did the items of clothing appear to be both belong to a female and a male?
Yes.
Were they children's clothing?
Yes.
And at the time that you photographed these items, did you then collect them and take them into evidence as well?
Yes, I did.
Did you do any sort of further processing or testing of the clothing, these specific items, throughout this investigation?
No.
Now, when you would have taken these items into evidence, what would you have done with them?
I would have brought them back to the police department with me, and they would have been placed into an evidence bag and put through a pass-through to the property and evidence room.
And is that what you would have done with all of the items that you would have seized from this particular location?
All of them except the ones that I processed would have been placed into my secure locker at our workstations.
And do you recall what items you would have specifically processed?
I processed items 13 through 15, item 20, 21, and 23.
We don't have that list in front of us. What specific items are you referring to?
The black and blue machete, the small kitchen knife, the pink camouflage pistol, the box of ammunition, the pistol box from the closet, and the pink sunglasses from the kitchen banister.
And what type of further processing would you have done on those items?
I took some DNA swabs and processed for latent fingerprints.
Did you locate any fingerprints on any of those items that would have been suitable for identification?
I believe so.
Which items did you note fingerprints on?
I lifted 2 latent fingerprints from the pink sunglasses, and then I photographed 6 areas of ridge detail on items 20 and 21.
So after locating those fingerprints and documenting them the way that you did, what would you have done with those items?
The latent fingerprint cards would have been placed in an envelope and given to property and evidence, and the photographs of the ridge detail would have been placed on a DVD, and then that DVD would have been given to property and evidence.
Now from there, do you decide what further processing happens with your findings?
No,
To your knowledge, was anything done with those specific findings?
I don't know.
Is it typical that you don't always know what happens further with the investigatory steps in these types of cases?
Yes, it's typical that I don't know.
All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Waters?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So essentially, you've testified that on July 10th of 2020, you show up at this Jersey Meadow apartment, and then you take, hundreds of pictures, essentially,
Yes.
right? And then, can you tell me or remind me what time you got to the Jersey Meadow apartment on July 10th, 2020?
I got there at 13:11 hours, so 1:11 p.m.
Okay, and then remind me, I think you stated in your previous testimony that you were unaware whether anybody from the police department or any other law enforcement agency had already been there.
I was unaware if they had started a search yet. I assume they cleared the apartment, which is typical, but I didn't know if they had searched anything yet.
Okay. Are you aware whether anybody had already been in the building from the police department?
I assume they cleared the apartment to make sure it was safe for everyone to go in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about this gun that you found. You didn't do the processing or collection of that gun, right? All you did was just take the picture of it, or did you process and collect it?
I collected and processed it for DNA and prints.
Okay, so you lifted prints off of it, or did you not?
I did not locate any prints on that item.
Okay. And then is it uncommon for people in these sort of crime scenes to keep firearms under their beds?
Is it uncommon?
Is it uncommon?
No.
Is it uncommon to keep any sort of weapon under somebody's bed?
No, it's not.
So typically when you arrive at these sort of crime scenes or these places where you're executing a search warrant, it's typical to find guns or other sorts of weapons under mattresses, under beds.
Yes.
Okay. Now that ammunition that you took a picture of, is that the only ammunition that was found in that apartment?
I believe so, other than the 2 that were in the pistol.
Okay, so there wouldn't have been any 38 special ammunition?
I don't believe so.
Any
Not when I
Winchester-
was there.
Okay, no Winchester ammunition,
No.
and then no other firearm found other than the BB or whatever it was.
Correct.
Okay. Notice any, as you were walking around and you're taking pictures, Did you notice any blood stains or what appeared to be blood stains around this apartment?
I did not.
Anything with any sort of splatter?
No,
Did you smell any bleach?
I did not.
Did you find any bleach?
Not that I recall.
Didn't take pictures of any bleach in that apartment?
Not that I recall. No.
But if you had, you would have obviously turned that over to the Davenport Police Department
Yes.
or any other law enforcement agency that was there.
Yes.
Other than those few items that you named, did you process or collect any other physical items?
Other than which ones?
I think you named about 3 or 4.
So those are the ones specifically that I named that I processed. I collected several others also.
Okay. The ones that you processed, the latent prints, other than those that we've already mentioned, you collected several items, right?
Correct.
But didn't process or test any of those items.
Correct.
That would have been somebody else's job.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. O'Donnell.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Baker, is it common to find multiple weapons underneath a mattress in someone's room?
No.
Now, you didn't take any photographs of items inside of like the kitchen cabinets or anything like that.
No.
The specific items you photographed, were those items located by detectives during their search that they then directed you to photograph?
Yes.
But again, you weren't directed to anything specific in any of the kitchen cabinets or bathroom cabinets or anything like that.
No.
I don't have any further questions.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step down. Before we adjourn for the day, I believe I still need to make a record of our bench conference concerning the receipt from Walmart. If I'm correct. I would like to make a record of that. There's a discussion of that. The defense made an objection to the receipt for lack of foundation. The court has now been presented with a stipulation. And I assume that this will be uploaded in the case. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That was a stipulation that was drawn up by defense counsel, which would set the parameters of the understanding between the parties. And then I would assume that Mr. Freeze will upload that, or we can upload it for him, whatever they prefer. And then in addition, Your Honor, pursuant to the bench conference, the state has contacted Matt Gahant. Originally, we had thought that he would not need to appear based on that stipulation, but with further discussion, we have contacted him and he will be coming in so we can then lay the further foundation for the introduction of the receipt.
And essentially then the court granted the objection or sustained the objection by the defense counsel. And that is correct. Directed the state that if they wish to introduce that, they would have to lay the proper foundation with that witness for that receipt. Also, it's in the stipulation is essentially recognizing there are certain individuals that had employers or homeowners that had video systems in their homes. They will not be required to be called to provide that foundation evidence. Is that correct, Mr. Freeze?
Correct.
And is that a fair summary of the bench conference?
It is.
And you would agree also, Ms. Cunningham?
I would, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We'll be adjourned at this time. We'll reconvene at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
And that sounds like that's it for today. What time did they say? Let's replay that.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you. And is that a fair summary of the bench conference?
It is.
And you would agree also, Ms. Cunningham?
I would, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We'll be adjourned at this time. We'll reconvene at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, 9 o'clock. So, time to set it up again for tomorrow. I kind of feel like it's probably wrapping up. It seems like these smaller, less publicized trials don't take as long. So, I just kind of feel like it's probably going to be wrapping up on the prosecution. Yeah, that's how I feel. And the jury. Well, we don't have a jury. The judge. Yeah. Okay. Well, that we don't have to worry about the jury getting bored. We've got the judge getting bored. He should be used to that. Oh dear. So, all right. Well, I'll find some other videos for our breaks tomorrow. We don't have the hearing today, so do we have enough? I think so. I wish they had somebody who was going back over things like you've got for the big trials and kind of weighing up, what we've heard and what's, what's credible, what's you should be thrown out. Okay, so well, it's after a long day. It's kind of like, okay, time to get up and get the wiggles out, I guess. Well, thank you for being here with me, Indiana, and anyone else who's lurking, and the replay crew. There was a dog hit under where his IV was. RV. That could be, but that won't attract the cadaver dog. Was it a cadaver dog or a scent dog in general, or a bloodhound? So, well, I want to see this guy. I don't really doubt that. I mean, it's a little too coincidental that she goes missing from his place. He's gone. She's gone. She turns up dead. The brother saw some stuff, the extent of which we're not exactly sure. But there's corroborating evidence on a lot of different things that he said. So, I either he is guilty or he is the unluckiest guy around, and he should stay away from Las Vegas because he's just gonna have the worst losing streak ever. So yes, he did spray the knife, and they did find the bleach spray bottle in the motorhome. So that corroborated that. He had the machete was on the microwave, and he said that the microwave, he didn't come out of the RV with it, and the scabbard for the machete was in the trunk of the Impala, and so that ties a link between the Impala and the machete and the motorhome. And you've got the boy saying he saw it getting cleaned, that it was dripping with blood. So Yeah, these bad guys, they don't come up with original stories. So, okay, well, we'll finish up and we'll see you tomorrow. And have a good evening over there across the pond. Bye bye.